Well, about half of our business comes from people who unfortunately have been stung. And what I mean by this is they've not been paid for either all or some of the work that they've done. So it's so frustrating when they've been given the runaround and ignored, and eventually come to the conclusion that they've just been taken advantage of. But they're now kicking themselves because they knew in the back of their minds they should have had a contract in place, but simply never got round to doing it. But what they find even more frustrating, having lost out, is when they discover that it's very easy to create a contract. It's not as expensive as first imagined and actually helps them get business.
It's one of these givens in business that you need contracts to cover everything, but when you're starting off in a company, you tend to feel that, oh, actually, we can get by on a handshake and a square look in your opposite number's eye.
I have a great selection of clients, particularly from the commercial sector, who have come to me and have asked me for terms and conditions, and I've also gone to them and suggested that they look at terms and conditions. I have to say that most of the time when I suggest terms and conditions, it's after them having a rather expensive experience at court.
Some people will be aware that you need something, because of course every time you go onto a website, Facebook, there will be terms and conditions. Sadly they're like War and Peace. So they will look at things like that and think, oh, it seems awfully complicated. Something like that, it's going to cost a huge amount. Oh no, I'll just forget about it. I'll ignore it. I'll get round to it. And it's that lack of knowledge.
In fact, we pride ourselves in providing easily understandable contracts that are affordable for any size of business. This is very important to us, as a contract that isn't easily accessible or understandable can be a barrier to sale. Whereas we go out of our way to ensure the contract adds value and enhances the sales process. And in actual fact, for those that haven't had a contract before, they always feel more professional and confident as a result of having the right contract. And when it comes to cost, well, all we can say is our clients are pleasantly surprised, even though we always tailor-make the contract quite simply for the reason off-the-shelf contracts just don't do the job.
And he wrote them so that they're almost as much a sales document for my company as they are. They cover everything I needed to do. He put in some great suggestions, really made me think about the liability aspects of my business, and it was great.
So I needed contracts that were clearly written, spoke to the average man on the street, were easily understood so that I didn't have to explain them, and that also dealt with me in a way that I was comfortable with.
There needs to be a framework. If there isn't, then you get into the arena of emotion.
Well, for anyone wanting to find out more about getting a proper contract for their business, the next step would be for us to have a meeting, either face-to-face or over the telephone, so we can assess what's needed, what will suit the business, and of course, the cost. And once you have that information, you can then decide whether to go ahead or not. But I think it's important to remember the principal decision people need to make is whether to have an enforceable contract or continue to run the risk of relying on goodwill. All I'm saying is that it makes absolute sense to find out what's involved, and that way people can make an informed decision.
The great advantage of working with Create T's and C's is that they produce a simple, easily readable contract that is in English.
He's a thoroughly top bloke. He's very easy to deal with, very easygoing, very knowledgeable.
He was so easy to work with, real joy.